morning, Miss Umbrella. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm well. Thank you for coming in today to discuss Sundrop's scores.
Not a problem. Did she pass or fail?
This is actually a scholastic test of achievement that was taken throughout the week of March 3rd through March 10th to see how Sundrop is learning from our curriculum in the 3rd grade. This is not a test where we gauge whether they've passed or failed, nor do the students take all the subtests in the same day. The assessment is split into 2 areas.
Well, what are the 2 areas?
The 2 areas are the norm reference information and the criterion reference information. The top information will show us how she compares to the norm group. The criterion reference information on the bottom half will display how she performs on an individual skill such as reading, math, language, and spelling.
What's a norm group?
A norm group is a group of 500 students across the nation in the same grade as Sundrop, and they've taken this assessment under the same circumstances.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Now, let me show you the different subtests throughout this assessment. As you can see, there is reading, mathematics, language, listening, spelling, science, social studies, basic battery, and complete battery.
What is basic and complete battery?
A basic battery is an overall score of the basic readings like reading, math, language, and spelling, and except science and social studies. A complete battery is the total scores of the areas.
Oh, okay. Nice to know.
The first column, labeled Num of Items, is simply the amount of questions that were on the individual subtest. The second column, labeled Raw Score, tells us how many she got out of those questions.
So, why is this next number so low? Did she not do well in total reading?
So, the national percentiles is not actually a percentage. Let me show you this bell curve and how it works. So the bell curve is broken up into percentile equivalents, as you can see. Anything between here and here is the average of the norm group. If we look at her national percentile and the total readings, she scored within the 53rd percentile of the norm group.
Oh, wow.
These bands relate to a percentile. SIM stands for Standard Error of Measurement, meaning if she were to retake this test again and again, she would either score plus or minus 4.
Okay, I did not know that.
Moving on to scaled scores, looking at total mathematics, you can see she scored 496 in this area. Let me show you on the bell curve.
That's a high number. What does that mean?
Alright, our scaled score is a ruler conversion that makes all scores converted so that they are out of 800 points, which would mean any score from 400 to 600 is our average.
She scored 496, and that's in the average. That's great.
Yes, now let me direct our attention to the bottom half of the page, right here. We can start discussing the criterion reference information. This will tell us how Sundrop scored in the listening vocabulary, which was 16 out of 18, ranking her in the high group of that skill. Are there any subtests that you are curious to know more about?
Well, yes. Why did she score so low in phonetic analysis, vowels, and measurement?
Great question. Let me explain these initials right here in order to understand these numbers clearly. RS is raw score, meaning the number of questions that Sundrop got correct. NP means the number possible, meaning how many she could have gotten correct out of those questions. Low, medium, high refer to how she ranks on each of these skills.
So, is she struggling heavily in history, geography, and economics?
No, ma'am. You can see the numbers possible for those skills tests is 6, which is so small, simply missing 1 or 2 could automatically place the student in the low group, including phonemic analysis, vowels, and measurement that you questioned earlier, which only had 10 and 8 numbers or 11 and 8 numbers possible. Therefore, missing 1 or 2 could dramatically place Sundrop in the low group again. However, that does not mean that Sundrop struggles in those areas. As you can see, she missed 1 or 2 of the total questions. Another strong point is life science. She scored 7 out of 7, meaning she got all those questions correct, placing her in the high rank.
That's great news.
Just remember, these subtests, overall achievement tests, is just a snapshot of how she is doing. But as I show you her portfolio, we can get a rolling video of her day-to-day work, which would explain more in depth of her performance in 3rd grade. This would be her portfolio.
So, what should we do at home with her?
As you can see in her portfolio, Sundrop is not a verbal or visual learner. PowerPoints and reading tend to bore her quickly. She enjoys hands-on activities, so at home we want to possibly encourage baking or cooking with measuring cups on her own as often as possible to enhance her measuring skills, as well as measuring her height bi-weekly in feet and centimeters together so she gets more practice. To better her geography skill, try creating or purchasing a puzzle of the United States or globe that Sundrop can put together during her weekend. This is an easy way to get excited in finishing the puzzle to view the end results. Then you could tape the puzzle together and hang it in her room to remind her of her accomplishments, as well of the geographic importance in the puzzle.
Such great ideas. I know she would love them all. We will definitely work on that at home.
Great. Today you are leaving with a handout which explains the test scores in the vocab list of how she scores in the bell curve in case you forgot anything we discussed. Do you have any questions for me?
You covered all my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I know this was a lot of information. I'm willing to help in any way I can. Please feel free to email me with any questions you have.